October 5th, 2020, I shared a video from my clinic talking about competitive advantage. I'll go ahead and link it up here in the cards. You'll see it if you want to click, go check it out after this video. I'll also put a link to it at the end. But what is your competitive advantage? And if you don't know, you're losing the battle. You know, there's an old saying around the poker table that if you can't tell who the fish is or the donkey, it's probably you, right? If you don't know what your competitive advantage is when you're going into business, you're probably going to be the one that loses the battle, because you have to leverage those competitive advantages at every opportunity. And so if you're a small mobile provider, you're looking at getting in, you've never had a business before, you're going to do mobile instead of brick and mortar. What is your competitive advantage? Well, obviously versatility, low overhead. How do you leverage that low overhead? Some people would reduce the cost of care. Some people would say, well, since I don't have rent and I don't have utilities and I don't have all this other stuff, I'm not going to charge high rates. The problem is that puts you in a situation where you need high volume to make up the money. If you're coming out of a job where you were working, earning $50 an hour, 40 hours a week, what if you took that job and said, I'm going to go into a mobile-based practice. I'm going to look at still earning $50 a week, but working for myself, building a foundation in the business. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on a super small geographic area so that I can literally get from house to house, condo to condo, apartment to apartment within minutes. And so if I'm going to do 40 hours of work for $50 an hour, just like I did at my job, but I'm going to do it for myself, I'm going to limit my location to this is the community I'm focused on. Now in South Florida, there's lots of retirement communities where you absolutely can do that. You have 100, 200 residents in a super tight community. You can go from house to house in a couple minutes. Obviously, if you want to use the advantage of low pricing, you can do that, but that's not the direction that I would recommend any small provider go. You could go the other direction, and you can provide a premium service that most large corporate PT offices won't do, right? You can offer a $5,000 plan of care that takes an already proven successful adult and helps them get the most out of the remainder of their life. For anybody who has a decent amount of money in the bank, $5,000 to invest in their own independence, security, fitness level is a drop in the bucket. They would be happy to pay that. You can do that where a large corporate PT clinic isn't going to do that. Those are competitive advantages. If you can systemize your operation so that if you do become a Medicare participating provider and you look at the documentation guidelines and you look at some of the other guidelines and you say, okay, I'm going to focus my efforts in understanding how the game is played and finding every advantage to win this game while maintaining my compliance, I'm going to do that. So you might look at doing, more frequent, shorter visits, maybe 1-unit visits to eliminate the negative effect of MPPR. You might look at leveraging telehealth services. So you do an in-person visit in the home the first day, and then you do telehealth single-unit visits for the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth day. There's lots of opportunities here. You could look at leveraging and selling other cash-based services to your mobile care population that maybe they wouldn't know about these other people. You could go out to a local massage therapist and say, hey, Jennifer, I want to buy a package of 10 massages. I want to sell them to 10 different individuals. I want you to sell me your package of 10 for 50% off. I'm going to resell these at 70% of their retail value. I'm going to pocket 20% as my profit margin, but then you're going to get a client who is potentially going to be a full paying massage client into the future, right? So there's these arbitrage opportunities that are all over the place that you as a small, highly nimble provider can find and can leverage for your success. Something like a Athletico or an ATI, they're not going to be able to do that kind of stuff. So understand your competitive advantage. If you own real estate, right? We own real estate. We do all our billing in-house. We have lots of opportunities to reduce our cost basis. I have depreciation of my real estate. My rent flows through from my physical therapy clinic to my property, which I get the tax benefits on that. So I effectively reduce my tax burden through other investments. If you and I are competing head to head and you don't have the same advantage that I have, you are not going to win. I am going to be able to sustain longer periods of time. When we had multiple locations, we still have 2 locations now, but for example, I had 5 clinic locations at one point. When one of my locations got cut to 50% of the performance it had historically done, it didn't really affect me that much because I had 4 other clinics that made up the difference. Whereas if that was my only location, that would have put me out of business. So understand your competitive advantage. It could be in your networking, it could be in your relationships, it could be your social media. I'll give you one more example, and I'll talk about this in more detail in another video. But for example, I have 2 clinic locations right now. One was started in 2007. The other one, actually they were both in 2007. So 2007, right now is 2000, almost 22. These clinics have accumulated so much history that we have a steady flow of new patient referrals. I don't do any marketing, I don't do any branding, I don't do anything special. 5, 6, 7 new patient referrals every week. What is the tangible value, the monetary value of a steady stream of new referrals every single week that has decades of history behind it, right? So imagine that. Imagine I can come to you and I could say, hey, I guarantee you 5 new patients a week. I've got 10 years of history to prove it. 5 new patients a week. Average new patient plan of care might be $1,500 to your business. Lifetime value of that patient might be closer to $4,500. What is 52 weeks a year of 5 new patients worth to you? That has huge value. That probably has more value than the actual clinic itself. If I was going to sell my clinic, there's not a whole lot of value in buying a physical therapy clinic. The value is in buying the established relationships of 5 new patients a week with no marketing expense. The value is in the insurance contracts that you as a new provider can't get into, but I have access to. So my competitive advantage are those things. I would love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments below, what do you really believe is your competitive advantage? And more specifically, what do you have that somebody else can't replicate? Because if you claim your competitive advantage is delivering one-on-one care, and I can claim the same thing, it is not a competitive advantage. Let me know what you guys come up with. I'll see you on the next video.